So, welcome to the San Diego 2015 Comic Con. We are currently about the third of the way through it, so I decided to let's produce some content as it worked out pretty well last year. So, first off, we have The Dark Knight 3, the third installment for the Dark Knight trilogy, and this book looks to be very, very interesting. It is the third volume of again the Dark Knight trilogy. The volume is titled Dark Knight 3 Master Race. The volume will feature at least 8 stories and a 16-page secondary story that will basically just expand on the Dark Knight universe. And basically with these secondary stories, what's going to be happening is that a series of rotating creators will basically focus on individual characters and conflicts within this universe, whilst the actual story will be helmed by Frank Miller himself and Andy Kubert and Brian Azzarello, who will be illustrating the book. This looks to be very, very interesting. I've never actually read the Dark Knight series. I intend to do that before the Batman v Superman movie comes out. This book has definitely spiked my interest for these stories. And I'll just be curious to see what it will be. There's no news as to what the plot's going to be about. Apparently there is a rumour that suggests that we will see an aging Carrie Kelly and a much older Batman. So I'm going to be really curious to see what these characters will look like. And on to the next thing. So Vertigo has just released some new titles for their imprint. And if you don't know what Vertigo is basically DC's very own creative imprint. It's sort of like Image Comics, it's just owned by DC. And some of the titles that Vertigo have actually produced are V for Vendetta and Constantine. Vertigo has promised they will continue to push the boundaries of several genre fictions, such as horror, fantasy, crime thriller, and sci-fi. So far, the schedule stands right now that in October, a book called The Twilight Children is coming out, as well as Survivors Club, Clean Room, which will be written by Gail Simone, and Art Ops. In November, Unfollow, Slash and Burn, Redthorn and Jacked will come out. And finally in December, Sheriff of Baghdad, New Romancer, Lucifer, which there's also a TV series coming out, as well as Last Gang in Town. Along with these titles, we will still be continuing to get American Vampire and Astro City and Suiciders. This seems pretty interesting. I don't read a lot of Vertigo, and I don't really read a lot of creative owned stuff. Quite frankly, if I was gonna buy these books, I would buy them in trade. But yeah, this seems exciting. So on to the next bit of news. So Dark Horse Comics is releasing the continuation of the Legend of Korra series. This will be considered canon to the main show and will be written by Michael Dante DiMartino. Details are still unknown about the story and about the series itself, but it has been confirmed that Korra and Asami will be a couple in the series and will be emerging from the spirit world where they left off in the last season, when the last season ended. We don't know who'll be illustrating the book. In actual fact, we know pretty much next to nothing about this book. But between now and the release date, we will be getting... Dark Horse will be releasing an Avatar Last Airbender poster collection and Legend of Korra Art of Book 4 book. So finally, we have Marvel Comics announcing some new Star Wars titles. I am gonna cover the Marvel, the new Marvel reboot titles, in a separate video, as there's quite a lot of announcements for that one, and I haven't got my notes prepared for that. Marvel Comics has announced 2 new Star Wars titles, and they're just raking it in with these Star Wars titles to the Star Wars characters. They've just been churning them out. And I've been reading the Darth Vader book, and it's really, really quite good. So one of these titles that have been announced is Chewbacca, which will be a 5-issue mini-series launching in October. Chewbacca will be written by Gary Dugan and illustrated by Phil Noto. The story will be set after the events of Star Wars Episode 4 and will basically have the Wookiee on an Imperial-controlled planet after crash landing there. We'll be introduced to some new characters as well as some familiar faces. What's interesting about this book, however, is that we are going to get the growls and the roars of the character. We're not going to have any eternal dialogue or thought balloons. So this is going to be really, really interesting, as a lot of it will be body language. And if this goes well, it might mean that we might see a Groot series down the road. Other title that was announced is called Star Wars Vader Down, which will be a crossover between the Darth Vader solo series and the main Star Wars title. This crossover will be written by Kieran Gillian and Jason Aaron respectively, with Mike Diodato and Salvador Larroca doing the artwork. And the story will basically be about Vader getting stranded behind enemy lines, and will have him fight an entire rebel army. We don't know when this title will be released or anything regarding this information, but I'm really happy that Marvel Comics is just raking in with this Star Wars comics. So on to some actual news. These images that you're going to see now actually came out a few weeks ago. I just wanted to quickly touch upon it before I talk about what came out of San Diego. This image that you see in front of you is Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot as Bruce Wayne and Diana, and they look absolutely gorgeous. Just the way Bruce Wayne looks, the way Gal Gadot looks as Wonder Woman, and seeing these two, especially in the trailer, this movie is honestly shaking up to be possibly one of the best movies that has ever come out of Warner Brothers DC unit, and possibly may easily become one of the best comic book movies of all time. I think Zack Snyder has put so much effort into this movie and making it really, really interesting. And just seeing these two characters look like this is really, really cool and really, really interesting. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love what these two characters look like. Lex Luthor, he looks okay. I don't really like the look particularly, but seeing him in the trailer, although he's not one of my highlights in the trailer, I think he will possibly do a good job in the role. As far as this image that you're seeing, Superman basically being touched by everyone like he's Jesus. Interesting, because people are actually looking at Superman as some kind of symbol. And I do reckon that Superman will fill in this mutants storyline that went on in The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, I've only seen the movie version, which is why I know that. But it looks like everyone is going to be looking at Superman as some kind of symbol. And now that Superman has revealed himself to the world, I think Superman and Batman are going to have to decide what kind of symbols they actually are. And I think this image here really does seem to prove that Superman is some kind of god, and Batman is some kind of god, and they have a duty to protect the people that they have around them. I think that's going to be one of the most interesting aspects in the movie. As far as this image goes, the one with Batman, and this just shows the stylistic approach that Zack Snyder is taking with this movie, and something that Man of Steel lacked. When Zack Snyder directed the 300 and the Watchmen movies, he made a very interesting decision to make it stylistically interesting, and he also did this with Sucker Punch as well. Zack Snyder is a very artistic director. He can basically replicate anything from the comic books. It's quite frankly amazing. And I just love this stylistic approach to this story. And if this is the look of the film, and we definitely know from the trailer that this is the look of the film, then it's going to be really, really interesting. And I cannot wait to see this movie. Okay, so before I talk about the trailers that came out of Comic-Con, let's just do what was discussed in the panel, because there was quite a lot of stuff that actually came out from the panel that needs to be talked about. So during the Warner Brothers panel, it was revealed a Green Lantern movie is to come out. The Green Lantern movie will be titled Green Lantern Corps. We don't have any more details beyond the fact that a Green Lantern movie has been officially announced. But judging from the look of the Batman v Superman and the Suicide Squad, this will definitely be a very, very different Green Lantern, and hopefully a more comic book accurate Green Lantern as well. We also got some concept art in regards to Ezra Miller's version of The Flash, which will be very different from the CW's version of Flash. For instance, Ezra Miller's Flash will have long dark hair, whereas Gary Gustin's Flash does not have long hair. It's gonna be interesting to live in a world with like 2 or 3 Flashes, but no crossover. Moving swiftly on to some Suicide Squad news, we received quite a lot of information in regards to the villains of Warner Brothers DC Cinematic Universe. It's kind of implied that Superman is actually the beacon that has actually drawn a lot of these villains out of the shadows. And I find that concept just really, really interesting. Because Superman appears to be the figurehead for a lot of events that are taking place within this universe. We did receive a trailer, and the trailer did reveal Jared Leto as the Joker. And this version of the Joker is very different from the one seen in Nolan's films. And he's going to be, and his interaction with Harley Quinn is going to be very, very interesting. And this movie is sort of seemingly inspired by the Silence of the Lambs, in regards to their relationship. So in the Batman v Superman part of the panel, obviously the recent a new trailer was revealed, which I shall touch upon in a little bit. It basically has the direct consequences of the Man of Steel, and that is hugely, I think, is very, very important. Superman did obviously affect a lot of people's lives, and it appears that that's going to be an important factor in this movie. It also appears that Bruce Wayne was indeed present during the events of Man of Steel, which will bring him back into the role of Batman, and the two will battle it out during the movie. Gal Gadot's role as Wonder Woman is amazing. She will definitely be a very interesting character. We also see Lex Luthor in the role. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I'm not really particularly too impressed with this version of Lex Luthor. He's not one of my favourites, I will admit that. I just have to see what he's like in the actual movie and see if he would be the Lex Luthor I could get behind. For those of you who are interested, my favourite Lex Luthor is actually Michael Rosenbaum. So it's not that I'm against new people in the role. That there are always changes in the comics, and therefore there are always going to be changes in the movies as well. But yeah, he's just not one of my favourite characters. But what I did find interesting is Lex Luthor is seemingly going to create some kind of doomsday creature or Bizarro, just some kind of creature that will be very, very dangerous to our heroes. We also have the reveal that Kryptonite will exist in this universe, which is good because we don't want to have an overly superpowered hero. Far too often, Superman runs the risk of being too overpowered, and Kryptonite is the only weakness that Superman has. And it's just good that they've actually created this aspect. I'm extremely happy that Kryptonite seemingly might have been created by the terraforming process that happened in Man of Steel. So Man of Steel is a hugely relevant film within this franchise, which is good news to me. Zack Snyder also revealed that Gotham and Metropolis will be twin cities, and therefore will be pretty close together in regards to location. I find this aspect good for this kind of film. The reason why in Marvel Comics everything happens in New York is because it's one city. Yes, it's one city with many landmarks, so everyone is everywhere. But everyone eventually can meet up, and it's realistic. So I think realistically, as Zack Snyder said himself, it just makes sense to have Gotham and Metropolis closer to one another. With Metropolis being like the Golden City, and Gotham being the Dark City and the Fallen City, as it were. In other news connecting to the Warner Brothers DC Cinematic Universe, it's been rumoured that Geoff Johns and Ben Affleck are in talks of starring and directing a new Batman film. Deadline has reported that Affleck and Johns are apparently in sync, and plans to finish the Batman script will happen this fall. This isn't necessarily official, it's only a rumour, but I just wanted to bring it up. And it's expected that the film production will happen after Ben Affleck finishes his Live by Night film. So I'm very, very excited about all of this news. It's something that I'm extremely, extremely happy with.